We take a look now at wrapping up loose financial ends as 2021 draws to a close. And one important area is charitable giving. Looking back, 2020 was a record year. In the U.S., individuals donated at least $471 billion. That is up by more than $20 billion from the year before, according to Giving USA.
And the good news, of course, is a special tax break for charitable donations is still in effect, but it is set to expire in a few weeks. So you may want to give to important causes now, but you might not be sure how to do it. Luckily, we're joined by our favorite personal finance guru, Marcia Mantell of Mantell Retirement Consulting. Marcia, always amazing to speak with you. We've got just a few weeks left of this year. What's going to be up with our charitable donations? Do they still have a chance to make an impact under these special tax advantages, and how do those work?
They do, and thanks for inviting me back. Charitable giving, we are such generous people, it turns out. And the surprise in 2020 was, we had a pandemic. So I think the expectation was charitable giving might have ratcheted quite a bit back. We had a lot of unemployment. We had a lot of angst. We had moms at home, homeschooling. It wasn't really a focus to be charitably inclined, and yet it was. So we are thrilled that the charities that so need these donations are still getting funding for the most part in the broad categories. And now we have an extension. You're exactly right, Maddie and Scarlett, that the CARES Act that brought back a front of the 1040 deduction for some charitable cash donations is still available for the 2021 tax year. So if you file as a single person, you can contribute up to $300 that you can then deduct from your taxes, your tax obligation. And if you are married filing jointly, you get up to $600. So there's still time. There's a couple of weeks left, and you can still get considered a bit of a bonus, a little tax incentive.
I'm curious how much that tax incentive plays into people's wanting to give. I mean, is that a big driver? Because when there is no tax incentive, what does giving look like?
It's such a good question. And I was so surprised as I was researching and thinking that was exactly the case, that, a few years ago when we had the new tax reform come into play, the standard deductions got significantly higher. In fact, they doubled. And we were thinking and we were concerned that people were going to stop charity giving, donating to the charities, because there wasn't a related tax deduction. You could only get that when you itemized. Now, pretty much only 10% of people need to itemize. And that just didn't play out. It just shows that, and in the surveys for people who are giving, we don't give because of a tax break. We give because these are charities and causes we love and want to support and know they need our help. Then if there's some bonus, you get a little bit additional tax break, that's a good thing too. But the primary driver is wanting to support these charities.
Well, Marcia, I want to pick up on that because I was fascinated that people who are lower income are among the biggest contributors to charitable causes. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that is just amazing, Maddie. What we see year after year is lower income households, those $50,000 and lower, they're giving a higher percentage of their income than people in making the $100,000 to $500,000 range. I mean, it speaks to how important charitable giving is, regardless of your income. Now, a lot of it goes to religious organizations. So we have a lot of people very passionate about their religion and supporting the causes of their church or house of worship. We have a lot of pet lovers. A lot goes to the pets. A lot goes to cancer research or Alzheimer's, something that maybe has personally affected you. So there's a lot of real passion about where our dollars go, and understanding that the dollars we give to charity does make a difference.
And how do people give, Marcia? Are they giving on a monthly basis where it's a recurring payment, or are they doing it in one lump sum, either at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year when it perhaps is most advantageous tax-wise, or it's just something that comes up when you're getting ready to get all your papers in order?
Well, it's any and all of the above. Now, the charities will often tell you they really prefer the recurring, $5 a month, $10 a month, $25 a month, whatever you can afford to give. And you have that hit your credit card. It works well for your cash flow management, and it works well for the charity because they now have reliable amounts that become their sort of their base that they know is coming in each month. So that's a great way to go. But if you're a procrastinator, like so many of us, here it is the middle of December, just writing one big check or, making one credit card contribution, that works well too.
So sticking with that, I feel like over the course of the past 2 years, particularly with a lot of racial justice causes raising up on Instagram and things like that, Venmo has become a really important part of the charitable giving process. How does one even begin to sort of keep track of payments like that and then turn that into something that I would involve in my taxes? Like, I just have no idea where I would even begin on that process.
Yeah. And I happen to know, Maddie, that you're a millennial. And I'll tell you, the millennial generation, as a general comment, they have really embraced this online giving using Venmo or Google Pay or whatnot.
Yeah.
The important thing, I think there are two really big things. One is that you make sure you're giving to an actual bona fide 501c3 charity. And the other is that it is your responsibility as the taxpayer. You have to get the documentation. Mm-hmm. So whether you see something come through on a statement or whether like with a credit card, you would see that actual charitable donation on your credit card statement, or you get it from the charity and you might have to request it. Mm-hmm. But it's up to you to track that and make sure if it's $5 a month to, Standish Cat Rescue, mm-hmm. make sure you're getting a document that says you really did make those contributions.
At the same time, when people are looking for organizations, I mean, you mentioned everyone has their kind of pet causes that they want to give to, but if you're looking to broaden your scope and affect and invest in emotionally and financially more causes, how do you go about vetting different organizations?
It's super important that you do that. And there are two organizations that are kind of the North Stars for the charitable giving world. One is Charity Navigator, and it is charitynavigator.org. They show all the details for any 501c3 organization. So if you just hop online and you can either Google your charity and get to Charity Navigator, or the other way, you want to look up the place that you want to actually give some of your hard-earned money. So make sure it's a legitimate charity. The Navigator does a very good job on a tremendous number. I mean, we're talking about somewhere around 1.4, 1.5 million charities just in the US. And if you go overseas, we've got another 8 or 9 million. So you do need to vet the charities and make sure that it's a legitimate place and you can get that documentation. The other really good site is GiveWell, givewell.org. Now, GiveWell does a really deep dive into analyses on the charities, not just is it a legitimate charity, but what's its impact? And so I talk about this as a strategy. If you really want to maximize your impact, take a look at the 9 or 10 charities that they have vetted to say, of all the ones out there, these are the ones by the numbers that spend the least amount of money on administrative stuff, not on the people. Maximize the impact that it actually gives to people in communities. So one that they have, it's very highly rated, is one of the malaria. You know how the netting in many of the countries in Africa, if we can just put netting around children's beds, it prevents the mosquitoes in and prevents malaria or reduces it greatly. That's a huge impact for pennies. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing they're looking for. And it's just so interesting to see the charities that they're ranking very high for those reasons, maximum impact.
Marcia, really quickly here, how do you decide how much to give based on your income?
Not how much it hurts. You may have heard that. Give till it hurts. Don't give till it hurts. Give an amount that you feel comfortable with. You can always change it next year. Or if you can do only one time $25 this year, fantastic. They'll appreciate it because you basically end up pooling all the money with everyone else who's giving to that same charity. Yeah. So give what you can and what you're comfortable with.
A great reminder this holiday season of the importance of giving. Marcia, thank you so much for being here. That was Marcia Mantell from Mantell Retirement Consulting, joining us in Boston.